In fact, every creature on the planet has a right to access to the sun's energy and all of the other energies that bathe this planet. We live and we prosper by having access to energy so we can support our survival. This will give us an opportunity to move to a new stage where we see our role as part of one embedded biosphere. We move from the old geopolitics to the new biosphere politics.
I think we pay way too much attention relatively to transportation, heating, electricity generation. But we really need to look at the food system if we want to solve this problem. The way we're feeding ourselves contributes more greenhouse gas than virtually any other industry, more than transportation. Somewhere between 20 and 35% of greenhouse gases come from food. Food affects climate change in a few different ways. It happens on the farm with the chemical fertilizers. It happens with the farm equipment that we use to plant and harvest our crops. It happens with the pesticides, many of which are made from petroleum. It happens with the processing of the food when it leaves the farm. It takes about 10 calories of fossil fuel energy to produce 1 calorie of supermarket processed food. And then it happens with the way we transport the food around the world. In America today, we're eating salmon that was caught sustainably in Alaska, shipped to China to be filleted, and then returned to the United States. We're shipping tomatoes to Mexico, and we're importing tomatoes from Mexico. These kind of food trades use up great amounts of fossil fuel, and needlessly. If you understand that what's happening on your plate changes the world, that informs, I think, the way you eat. Some people won't care. They'll go ahead and eat the same way they were. Other people will realize, well, I want to eat food that has less of an ecological footprint. And for them, there are a great many choices. Eat local, eat organic, eat sustainable food. Don't patronize fast food, which has a tremendous carbon footprint. You can decide, I'm shopping at the farmer's market today. I'm not going to the supermarket. I'm not going to eat meat 1 day a week, 2 days a week. That would have an enormous effect on climate change. What we call voting with your fork. That is one of the most important votes you have. And you can have it even before you're 18 years old.
As I travel around the world, I'm often asking the question, what can I do? What should I do? And I think people expect me to say, well, recycle your newspapers and change your light bulbs to the more efficient ones and so forth. And those things are important. But we're now faced with the need to change the system, that is to restructure the global economy. And that means becoming politically active. The most important single thing that governments can do is to get the market to tell the truth. The market does many things well. One of the things it does not do well is including indirect costs. For example, we burn a gallon of gasoline. We buy a gallon of gasoline. We pay the cost of getting the oil out of the ground, getting it to a refinery, refining it into gasoline, getting the gasoline to the local service station. We do not pay the costs of treating respiratory illnesses for breathing the polluted air. We do not pay the cost of damage from acid rain, and certainly not the cost of climate change. We need to include these indirect costs, and we do it by reducing income taxes and raising carbon taxes. So do it over a period of 10 or 12 years, so it's gradual, and so people know what's coming and can plan accordingly.
So I think the lesson is clear. We are at peak oil. We're heading to climate change. Our species is in peril. Our fellow creatures are facing extinction. This is a turning point for the human race.
We really need a fundamental change in the mindset.
For decades now, as environmentalists, we've talked about saving the planet. What we're now talking about is saving civilization itself.
We learn to become a steward of the biosphere. We learn to share our energy with each other. we take our responsibility for the planet.
We need to try, but in the same way, we need to learn how to run a large industrial civilization without cheap oil. We're going to have to learn how to grow food to feed that industrial civilization without oil. And so, you know, can we do it or can't do it? We just have to get to work and figure it out. And I'm optimistic we can do it.
Saving civilization is not a spectator sport. It's not something we can sit back and hope someone else is going to take care of. We all have a stake in it. Almost all of us have children or grandchildren. And we need to think about what we need to do and how quickly we need to do it if we're going to save civilization. I mean, for a long time now, we've been talking about the need for sustainable development. The alternative to sustainable development is unsustainable development, that is economic decline and collapse.
Those who see ecological assets and energy assets as a true asset, as gold or stock assets are, will recognize that we need to deal with them quite similarly.
We see a need for almost a wartime-like mobilization to restructure the world energy economy. And we're beginning to see signs of that. That's the exciting thing.
We can't say, when will it change? Tomorrow or one day some people will wake up, and there are all these common forces at the same time. And it may be that we will be too slow to change.
But we don't have much time. We're going to have to move fast, and we're going to have to involve everyone.
Then we truly can move forward to a sustainable world for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren and all those not yet here.
Let's try to use our brains to find out how can we live well on this beautiful planet.